we can come back to Brent when the technical difficulty has been resolved.
Can you guys hear me now or no?
Yeah, you're in.
Okay. Apologize, guys. And thank you for those who sent me the link. I don't know what happened. I had an expired link, and I was watching you guys. I've heard everything. It sounds great. So first, I just want to kind of give you some information from the last snowstorm and such, the winter storm. And I think it kind of drives home how important everything that you guys are doing is. Literally within 10 to 12 hours, I'm going to say 12 being generous, from power outages, and that wasn't even, I don't think, that devastating of a storm by any means. We lost communication, some pretty significant in communication assets. And I say this in the aspect that some of the microwave towers don't have the, they have generator backup and such, but literally because of power lossage, we had hiccups in our hardened communication ability, which is, Ukiah police being on, in dispatch being on internal type radios and such, and not having access to the full network. So, I mean, literally it impacted that quickly. That interruption impacted our public safety infrastructure all the way out to, say, Covelo, right? Add to that the complexity that literally 3 of our major providers, to include Clovelo area and all the way into the heart of the county of Ukiah, the county seat. We had a lot of people losing cell capability because of the number of cell towers that went down, because of lack of generator backup, lack of hardening of these cell towers, or just whatever other issues they may have had. And so it really is important what we're working on, because this obviously does impact education, everything, county operations, government operations, public safety, everything's backboned off of communication, all the way to our ability to do road construction and all these other projects. And some of these providers were very slow to respond, even after roads were open. Once the stuff went down, until they could gain access to the remote locations, they couldn't really bring the services back up. So we had to do some prodding to get people out there and such. And so I'm only sharing that because obviously for our communities to start growing, and, whether it's professionally, for business, education, it's really going to be a service that's needed to draw people here, to keep people here, to make our community stronger. With that said, I do want to share, this is not really the broadband perspective, but all these aspects drive and support our ability to do alert and warning, right? And right now we're kind of in the slow season. I got a lot of projects that we're working on to try to beef up our ability to work with the public when it comes back around the fire season. So if you guys haven't heard, we're doing some different things with tsunami preparedness, because that's this month. But don't get sucked into, if I'm talking about tsunami, but yet there's an alert and warning component to it. That's really what I'm focusing on, right? The tsunami exercise is the driver scenario, but really in the background, I'm working on a lot of the alert and warning aspects and web development aspects. So please just kind of, when you hear that, know that there's other aspects that we're doing. I share that in the aspect that FCC, we did some best practices and things, some training this last month, the state and federal partners, FEMA. I did that training with them just to kind of get across with a lot of different counties in the state, to kind of look at who's doing what with alert and warning, where are the trouble spots, and then we get the latest, greatest of what FEMA is claiming that alert and warning can do. And that's what I'm talking about, iPause, what's hitting your cell phones and what goes through carriers. And I'm just going to be honest with you, FEMA for a number of years now, they kind of promise big, and then it comes out pretty, you don't get the delivery. And so right now they're telling the public, and what, I need the leaders to understand is a lot of the materials are saying that when we send out emergency notifications for wireless emergency alerts, that they're accurate within 1/10 of a mile. So that if I draw a picture on the map, only people within 1/10 of a mile are going to get it. They also put out some information, and that was based on what they were saying is that in years to come, as your device in your pocket gets better it'll become more accurate. And that is very true, but they're telling people that we're up to almost 20%. And the reality is that the pocket, the number of phones out in the community, released in the wild might be 20% accessible, but it's not accounting for people like me that have two phones, different service providers. Not every provider does these. It's not a mandate that they have to do wireless emergency alerts. There's no accountability aspect on the third party providers that own the actual infrastructure. So that number quickly goes way down. That might be a pretty great estimate out in a densely populated area, but in rural counties with the terrain and everything else, that number's completely garbage. I'm going to be honest. And I just want to keep abreast of that because, we have to keep driving people to understand that we need better infrastructure and we need to have redundancy in different systems, whether it's NOAA radio, TVs, whatever. So that's kind of some stuff we did on the emergency management side, the sheriff's department, and for the county executive office, we were doing these things. Moving forward, just so you guys know, I do work with the Bay Area Regional Interoperability Communication, BARICS, their approval authority. We're just one county outside of it. The last quarterly meeting, there wasn't a lot of movement actually because of holidays and the peak of COVID. We have a meeting next week, so I will, anything I hear from that, I'll bring back to the group in the coming months. But really where their focus is like FirstNet and a couple of these other things that counties are kind of looking at. And I'll be honest, FirstNet isn't really as viable in our county because essentially the state of California is getting 150 cell towers out of it. You divide that by 58 counties. The high density counties are kind of eating up most of those. It's supposed to go to rural counties. But Sonoma, when I was with Sonoma County, we did an assessment and we were getting 1 or 2 cell towers. And so it's kind of each provider offering its own response package. We just have to assess whether it's viable in our community and if the cost benefit is actually worth the while. So I'm going to stop there. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or if you have tasks that I can work on to help this group, because I'm still learning what you guys need from me, I would love to get that feedback from you.
Thank you, Brent. I heard another.
This is Tom West. Could I interject and say it would be very helpful to have a statement like you just made in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, what your needs are and the shortfalls, and how maybe a more robust infrastructure could help you. This would help as part of our campaign of making the case for Mendocino County. We want to emphasize your needs along with education, along with health delivery, along with tribes, so that people see that, how can I put it? Mendocino and other rural counties are getting the short end of the stick. So if there's a few paragraphs that you can sort of put down on paper that sort of make the points you've just made would be very helpful.
Fantastic. And I apologize, sir. I don't, could you send me an email? I see T West, but I'm not really sure.
Send it to Jeff. Jeff's our leader, Jeff Tyrell.
Will do. Thank you.
I'm just the plotter.
And I would also add that with the speed test that the Broadband Alliance wishes to do in the near future, we want to get every service organization, school district, Facebook group involved so that we have robust data coming back. So I will tack on Office of Emergency Service to see whether we can.
So if I may, I'm just going to throw this idea out there real quick to the group, and maybe we can reach out to Sonoma. One of the things that we did with speed testing with Justin Rydell, who's one of the IT guys in the sheriff's department over there. This was a number of years ago when we were speed checking and looking at services for, say, AT&T and FirstNet and what they were advertising. We actually took the MDCs out of the sheriff police cars because they travel in different zones throughout the county all the time, right? They're always moving. And we actually were able to pace and look at their real-time data within the vehicle and how well it was performing. And so basically they were the sensor nodes that as they were traveling through the county, and then Justin pulled that data in and looked at all the dead spots within the county. Because I'm sitting here and I look at your presentation and I'm wondering where the data is really coming from and how realistic it is to the ground truthing. And that's what we did with, say, the alert and warning test back in 2018. We'll probably be doing something like that here in this county this year before May, June timeframe. But I would probably look at, how can we get a couple devices in vehicles that would maybe be moving around and pull it over a given amount of time. And then you're going to have real world, no nonsense data of how well they're performing and where the dead spots are.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Would be fabulous. And I might volunteer Supervisor Williams to set up a meeting between myself and you and others who want to join to offline figure out how we can incorporate that data and supplement each other's efforts. So thanks. Good information. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, whoever that was.
It's Calvin Sandine from Sonoma County. Yeah, I just wanted to thanks for bringing up the testing of the actual level of, I guess, cellular availability. I'm curious have you used any other open source apps? Like I downloaded one on my phone called OpenSignal, and it shows consumer level data on cellular availability throughout, I guess, throughout California. But I'm curious if you use any of that data, because it seems like for users that download the app, it collects data automatically. So I'm wondering if, besides the putting it in squad cars, if we could even collect that data on a consumer level by somehow obtaining this data, or just using a platform like this. Do you have any experience with those types of apps? I'm sorry, I don't have your name. I see EOC Mendocino County, but.
That was a question for Brett.
Yeah, thank you.
I have not used those type of apps. When we did that test, I think we were looking specifically at some of the like, say, Verizon, AT&T. We were looking at those service providers. But you're right. It doesn't have to just be, we were working within the toys that we had, if you would, the patrol cars. But if we could set up some type of downloadable app or whatever that anyone in any community could take a part of, and then they just have to pull the app and it pulls the information and then brings the information back to us for an analysis. We just have to build that. Yeah, that's not actually a hard thing nowadays with all the devices that are out there, and it's just you're just pulling data. We just have to figure out how to test it. And so we were testing a very specific service provider to see if it was worth transitioning. And so I think we just need to relook at it and maybe take that same experiment and adjust it for what we want to do here.